Welcome to the STARS program, seniors taking active roles in society. And now, here's your host, ANITA FINLEY.
This is a very special interview. This is my granddaughter who actually lives in Warren, Michigan, and she is an expert at yoga, and she's the owner and creator of Map Keys Yoga, and she's calling in from Warren, Michigan. So good afternoon.
Hi, how are you today?
I'm great, Lisa. I'm great, Melissa. And I know that you do such a good job with people who, I guess that's what I'm going to ask you. Why do they come to you? What do they really want from you?
Most of the students that do come to Map Keys are looking for either more knowledge on the subject of yoga, or they're learning how to actually get into the practice through the asana, which are the different physical postures. And then from there, we usually start to learn different meditation techniques and breathing techniques. And then as we start to progress along, a lot of the students will have questions for me, and then we kind of discuss different things that they're looking for and goals within their practice.
So are people really hoping to become experts in yoga? Do they just want to do this once a week? Can they do this on their own? I don't really know that much about yoga, and so why don't you explain what the best way for someone to really get into yoga, and why would it be good for them?
My personal belief system is that when you're learning the practice of yoga, it's always best to start off with a teacher that's a skilled teacher, that meaning they've gone through different teacher training programs and actually know the physicality of it and the anatomy, so that when you start to practice the yoga, you're learning how to do the different postures in good alignment, which is most important so that we keep our bodies physically safe. And then as we go through the different practice, then most students that come are just learning, are looking for different ways to find stress relief and to connect with their own true self. And that's what we do at Map Keys. And my firm belief system in the way that I guide my classes is that every student that comes in, they're their own guru. So rather than putting your faith into one specific teacher or one specific type of person, we're all human. I believe that everyone is their own guru, which means that they already know deep within their self what it is that they're searching for, where the answers are deep within. And then through the practice, I believe that just starts to unlock what it is that they're searching for.
I think you're really right on, because many years ago, only people that did yoga were, well, I guess they were a little weird. I only say that because that was, I'm talking about 50 years ago, 50, 60 years ago. Those were people who either were in the Eastern religion, or they did other things for other reasons. But it was not like it is today. It's like there is a yoga studio on almost every corner here in South Florida. They're everywhere. You can find everything about them on the internet. What do you think led to this population explosion with it?
I believe that people are starting to realize the importance of just that mind-body connection. And just the other day, I had a student that asked an amazing question, which was, how important is the breathing in yoga, and why is it that the breath is such a focus in the practice? And if you think about it, the breath is the one thing, we call that our prana, or our life force energy. It's the one thing that's always with you. So as we go about any business that we conduct through our lives, we notice that breath. And when we start to lose that breath connection, that's when people start to get more stressed out. I think over time, we've started to incorporate just the practice of yoga in daily life to calm the nerves and allow the nervous system to become more relaxed. And yoga really has the possibility to connect us with whatever it is that we're searching for. So I even had another student that asked, is yoga a religion? And yoga can really be anything that you want it to be. It starts to teach us how to recognize our different thoughts and emotions and just our different habitual patterns in our lives.
And so can someone do yoga without specializing in their breathing?
That's what makes yoga yoga, is the breath. So if we're not connecting the breath in the practice, then we're just doing different exercises. And I think that's the big difference between, say, any other kind of just basic stretching, is yoga is combining that breath.
That's well said. Yes, I hear that. So let's just go now into what you do there. So can somebody actually, after they are with you a while, can they just go out into the park and do exactly what you told them, or do they have to be in the studio?
No, yoga, that's the beautiful thing about yoga, is that it's so you can transport it anywhere. I mean, you don't even really need any kind of equipment, just yourself and your breath. And I think once you learn the proper alignment of the different postures and you have some guidance in the actual practice of it, it's something you can definitely take anywhere with you. I mean, you can definitely do it in the park, in nature. My whole reasoning behind the studio is to build that community. So we have a lot of students that come in because they're looking for that community and that friendship that we have at the studio. And everyone, as they come in, we introduce everyone. And so when you're actually practicing at the studio, it's like we're all friends there. And that's the beautiful thing about creating that community at a studio. But definitely it's something you can take with you anywhere.
So is there competition that this one is doing it better than the other one? Probably not.
Well, we always like to say, like keep your eyes on your own mat, sort of thing. There really isn't any competition. Everybody is on their mat going through their own journey. So everyone is in a different part of their journey on their mat. So there's really no comparison, where we all have our strengths, we all have our weaknesses, and there's never really any judgment towards yourself or anyone else.
And there really are different forms of yoga, aren't there? And then you use a lot of different names, and you have one particular one you like. And so what are the benefits, and what are the negatives and the positives? I don't really understand what one does and another one doesn't.
As for the styles of yoga?
Uh-huh.
There are different styles that, so some are more restorative based. So there's different postures. There, the asanas, which are the postures, are more gentle. We use different props, which are like blankets and blocks, and we use big bolsters, which look like pillows, to sort of restore the body. We use those to open up the postures, open up the body. We hold those postures maybe a little bit longer. There's different types of styles of yoga where, like a hatha-based yoga, which is what a lot of practitioners in the West practice, which is a strength-building type practice, very intuitive.
Yeah.
There are different types of styles of yoga where, for example, you might work with the sun salutations, which are, it's like its own sequence within that style of yoga. So you move through the different postures, and they kind of all connect with the breath. So you're leading the breath through one posture to the next. Very strength building.
And actually, Melissa, let me just tell everybody again, you're listening to Melissa PINI, who is the owner and creator of Map Keys Yoga, and she's calling in from Warren, Michigan, where she has her own studio, and she is a very popular yoga. I don't want to call you a teacher. What do we call someone that does yoga? What would you like to be called? A master?
I I say that I'm a yoga teacher.
We'll call you a yoga master. That sounds better. Anyway. Okay, so talking about this now, do you ever get a chance to teach children yoga or elder people yoga? Because it's different then, isn't it?
I do. Actually, I teach both. I have a kids yoga. I'm also a certified kids yoga teacher. So I'm a registered yoga teacher, which means I actually went through a teacher training program. And I'm also a certified child yoga teacher. So I also went through a program to teach children.
And so because it's different.
Are you still there?
Yeah, it's different, isn't it?
It is different. So you learn, just like with the regular adult classes in the children's one, there was a big focus on anatomy. So I learned about, just anatomy for children specifically. And then as for older adults, a class that is like a chair-based yoga. So we do yoga.
Yeah, I really have heard of chair yoga.
It's actually a lot of fun. It's one of my most popular classes at my studio. We have a lot of fun in that class, and it's funny because a lot of people just assume that you're just going to be sitting in the chair the entire time, and we do a lot of fun things where we work with the breath. We learn different ways to do the different yoga postures in the chair, but also I do at the wall a little series, and we have fun. We enjoy that class a lot.
Right. It sounds a class like I would like. So you have your arms up, you have your arms out, you have your legs up and out. Is all part of that?
Right. And it's strength building too. I mean, the ladies and gentlemen that come to that class, they always say they get a good workout, which is exciting for them.
That's right. No, and that way they'll look forward to coming back because, maybe it'll be too much otherwise. So they think that this is a good way. And then how long do the sessions usually take?
Each class that I teach is about an hour long. So it depends on private sessions. Sometimes I'll do a little bit longer of a private session, depending on what it is that the person is looking for. But generally my classes are about an hour each.
That's a long time when you think of it, to be totally focused and moving everything. Now, this morning I got on one of those bikes at our condo. There's a exercise room, and I got on a bike and I did it 5 miles, and that was good. And so I got my legs going. But I need to do something for my arms and my, everything else, and I can't wait then to see Melissa so that she can help me get started on this. I'm looking forward to this. We're going to have a vacation together in July, so that's pretty exciting. So that was my other question. As I want to call you a master. Do you do yoga every day, even if you don't go to your studio? Do you just do it for yourself?
Yes, I do every day. Personally, I like to practice every day. I feel like it helps me mentally and physically, and I'm also a runner, so when I don't practice yoga, I notice how stiff I feel. So I always like to practice every day to make sure I keep not only my mental self well, but keep my body feeling strong and healthy. And I really notice the difference on the days when I, maybe don't get in as long of a practice, but it's definitely something I do every day. It's a big part of my life. I like to think yoga is more of a lifestyle than just postures or, poses that you do on a mat.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up because I want to ask you, can you do yoga in bed?
In bed? Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. A lot of the restorative postures you can definitely do just lying down in your bed in a comfy space. And you can do it pretty much anywhere. And I think we talked about this the last time, and with as for clothing too. I mean, you can be doing your yoga practice in your bed in your PJs, and it all still works the same. It's all still that connection to the true self and to your breath.
Well, do you have tapes that people would listen to, or you're the tape in a way when they're there with you? But do you sell tapes that people can buy that they could listen to while they're doing yoga, or is that not necessary?
I don't, but I've had someone ask me before to record something for them. So it might have to be something I have to put in on my to-do list.
Yeah, you have a big to-do list, but would it be helpful?
I believe it probably would. One of the classes that I do is like a guided meditation at my sala. I think that would actually be a really beneficial thing to have something like that to use maybe at bedtime or throughout the course of the day. So that's actually a really great idea.
I actually have a guided meditation tape that I listen to almost every night, and it puts me to sleep, and it talks. Sometime I'll have to have you listen to it when we're together, because this is a woman. I've been listening to this for years, and it doesn't. I don't do yoga, but it does do breathing. It does want you to take breathing, but it's relaxing for your mind to think about your body. Oh, I can't wait for you to hear this.
Oh, that's awesome. And you just said something. You said you don't do yoga, but you know what you do? You do the yoga off the mat. So that makes me think of something someone else a question I always get is people, they'll say, oh, does so-and-so practice yoga? And they might not actually do the actual asanas of it, but a lot of it is off the mat. So you think about how you treat other people and how you treat animals and just your interactions in everyday life. And to me, that is just as much yoga as doing something on a sticky mat. You're definitely a yogi.
Right. And I was thinking could be a new name for a course called Yoga Off the Mat or Yoga in Bed or something.
Yeah.
I think that's people would say, what is that? Well, it's relaxation and probably put you to sleep, right?
Hey, there you go. That might be the next big thing.
Right.
You just started something.
Yeah, just started something. That's true. Well,
there you go.
Yeah, no, well, because, it comes from, I think people who are doing yoga probably have a very open mind, don't they? I mean, when you are in a class, I would think that those people are they're not angry. They're not people who have, things to grind I think they're pretty easygoing. Am I wrong or not? Maybe I'm wrong.
No, not at all. That's definitely a very good point. And a lot of the people at the yoga shala, they're so supportive of one another. It's such a beautiful thing to see when you're growing that kind of community. And, when everyone walks in and they say, hi, how was your day? How is it going? Kind of thing. And they're so supportive. We even, we'll joke around sometimes in class. The balancing postures are always the tricky postures in yoga. And it's just heartwarming to see when, even though everyone does keep their eyes on their own mat and everybody is really focusing on what they're doing, but if they're next to a friend, they might look over at their friend and say, good job, when they're doing a posture. And that's just such a beautiful thing to see. Everyone's just so supportive and kind to one another, and it's just heartwarming.
Well, that's really excellent. So that's what that's what you love, isn't it? To see that's, there are people who are nurses and doctors, and they get their satisfaction from making people feel well and better. That's probably why you love this.
Absolutely. That's my absolute favorite thing, is just making people feel good. And I always say that MAPKeys is a no judgment zone, and it's a no complaining zone. Everyone that comes in is very optimistic, very positive, and we all join together to make the shala great. So I may have been the one that started the shala or opened up the doors, but it's the students that make the class. A teacher can only go so far. If they don't have the students, they're the ones that guide the class, really.
So I want to give her website. So for those of you who may be listening to this, because it's going to be on YouTube eventually, but it's their website. Her website is MAP, Keys, Keys, yoga.com. MAPkeysyoga.com. And do you have a phone number you would like to share with them to call you?
I do. So the phone number at the Shala is it's 586-329-3454.
Okay, so that's your cell phone number. That's how you want people to contact you?
That's the actual studio number.
Oh, it is?
Yeah.
Oh, good.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that's a very important thing because this goes everywhere. As a matter of fact, I couldn't do this with you because you weren't in the studio, but the last person I did this with, we put him on Facebook Live.
Oh, okay.
So next time you're down here, we'll get you on Facebook Live when you're doing this in the studio. Because I have a studio. It's just different than your studio.
Oh, no, your studio is amazing.
Yeah, it's a radio studio compared to your yoga studio.
Yeah.
Now, let's also go through this male-female thing. Are there people, men and women, who can do yoga together in some way? I mean, moves that, or is it always separate?
You mean as like a couple together?
Yes. Uh-huh.
Absolutely. So sometimes we'll even play around. It depends on a lot of times who's in the class that day. So I actually have quite a few like best friends that come together, or I have partners that come together, and sometimes we'll do partner yoga within the class. So then there's different poses that you can do with your friends or with your partner, and I like doing those classes also because it's something that they can take with them outside the Shala also. So when they're in their home or even if they go on vacation, it's really awesome to know when students, they bring their practice with them. So it's all about giving students something that they can use just in their daily life. So in the Shala for fun, and we really enjoy our time in the Shala, absolutely, but something to help better them and to take with them every day of their life as they venture out into the world.
Well, that's well said. So we both have our dogs whom we love. There is yoga with dogs. I know I sent you some things and you said, oh, yeah, I know about that. Well, how does that work?
I've never done that in the studio. But from what I've heard, it's a really big thing in like Japan and that. And I do that at home with my puppy. She actually loves it, but just doing different poses, holding her, or it's very funny to watch animals. They have a very innate sense of the practice of yoga, and just in general, I think animals are so mindful and they can see things I believe that we can't. And it cracks me up because I'll be in my home studio and I'll be on my mat doing an asana or moving through my practice, and my puppy will actually come onto my mat and she's so smart. I'll say, oh, downward dog, and she knows how to do it. It's really cute.
That's very funny, yes. And she probably wonders, what are you doing on the floor?
It could be.
But yes, well, I watch Charlie, and he does have an amazing way that he stretches out when he sleeps. He's very relaxed.
Oh, yeah. Charlie, he's so sweet too.
Right. Well, we love our dogs. We really do have that. So you have now had this wonderful studio that you created from scratch. It wasn't there before. And you are, I guess, building this practice, as you call it. And I guess that you have really created something that is different because, first of all, you're different. You're very kind and very loving, and I think people feel that. And so if people were listening and they wanted to contact you and go there, what do they expect to have done the first time? Let's say they're a beginner. What would you do with them?
The first thing that I always do when someone enters into the Shala is I'm really big on just letting them know that I'm there to help them. So there's no judgment ever when someone walks into the Shala. We're all friends there. And my big philosophy behind the way that I teach is that I'm there to help guide the person to themselves. So they have all the tools and all the answers within themselves. And the way that I teach is through connection, not correcting the person, not trying to make them change, and allowing them to make choices that are in alignment with their own core values and listening to their own self, knowing that there's never going to be any judgment. And it's all about helping that person to achieve the goals that they want to achieve. And it's not about me, and it's not about what I physically can do. It's all about them and what it is that they're trying to work through and work towards.
And do you get
to find
people?
that peace.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. To find that inner peace or whatever it is that they're searching for.
Okay, and so do some people come with challenges, that they can't move everything the way you can? What do you do about that?
Well, first of all, I'm not perfect myself, so I'm still a work in progress also. And, I just try to teach from a place of love. And I have been in an accident before where I understand what it's like to feel pain physically in my body. And, it's having that experience of just letting them know that I'm there to help them. And if they're experiencing something on their mat that doesn't feel good, or if I offer some sort of a posture or something, I always tell them if it doesn't feel good, just don't do it.
Right.
And the beautiful thing about yoga is that it's limitless. There's so much to it that if one posture, for example, doesn't feel good, well, there's a million of other ones to try. And it's all an experiment of trying to find what feels good in your practice and in your body when you're going through the practice itself.
Well, Melissa, you did it again. You're just great, a great radio interview, and I loved having you on, and I thank you so much, and I hope that everything is going great there.
Thank you so much. I'm so happy to talk with you. It's always a highlight of my day.
Right, mine also. Okay, then I'll talk again, Melissa.
All right, have a great day.
All right, honey, bye.